Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. So today we are looking at the Stoner LMG. It's called the Stoner LAMG specifically, but it is an LMG and the developers have added this to the PTS and hopefully makes its way into the game. And so we're going to look at this light machine gun and we're going to look at some really cool stuff about it. Now, in my opinion, there isn't a lot that's too special about this weapon, but there's just one special aspect of it that actually makes it really interesting and something that's going to be desired by a whole lot of people as they are farming and looking at this weapon much more closely. So base damage is going to vary based on your LMG build, but let us look at it in comparison to maybe an M60 that I have here. So this military M60 without unhinged does inflate the base damage, but this military M60 does have 27.3 thousand damage, while if you look based on my builds, this has about 18,000. So there's a discrepancy of about 9,000 base damage with this weapon, and it does have just slightly faster RPM, which I think makes up in ginormous quantities in regards to DPS. But then you have a 200 round mag. Now the reason I have 250 rounds on this is because I'm using the gunner pouch, which inflates it and gives me the extra 50. But if I don't have any of that, I have only 200 rounds. Now only 200 rounds is quite the statement of the century, because even right now the biggest LMGs carry 100, and if you get extra or whatever talents on there, it will still give you 120, plus if you get 50, it'll be giving you 170. And so with the way this LMG rolls, if you are able to get like extra on this weapon, you're going to have bullets for days. And then using the LMG pouch from the gunner specialization, this makes it very interesting to run. And then there's something really cool also. Its reload time is actually quite lower than the other belt-fed LMGs, which I noticed from running and playing with it. If you want to see some gameplay, I have some gameplay for Camp White Oak mission, which is on the new missions in the game, and so you can click the link in the description below to see it in action. Now, its damage is not necessarily the greatest, because if you look at your military RPK, it is in the same family as the military RPK. Yes, it does have about 70 less RPM, but again, its 200 round magazine size is definitely making up for what it lacks in damage. Now, let's go to modding and let's see a few things that I've noticed. Now, first of all, there's a little lock here, and I think this is based on the PTS, or maybe this is just the mod that does come with it, and nothing else is going to, be actually added here on this modification slot. But there is a QDC sound suppressor which fits in the quick detach coupler of the Stoner LAMG, and it grants you 5% damage to elites. Now, I don't know if the developers just left this on here, or if this is something you have to farm for, or this is just a permanent attachment that you cannot change. But 5% damage to elites, I don't think a lot of PvE players are complaining about anything damage to elites, because that's about the max you can get on a muzzle, so that's pretty nice. And then in regard to underbarrels, you can mod it with existing underbarrels that do work with LMGs depending on what you have. And then for the scope, my EXPS holosight scope with 8% damage to elite does fit, as well as other scopes that are compatible with LMGs in the whole mod category that we have. Regarding the pouches and the belts, are big belts depending on the ones that you have. The 10% crit damage belt, which I think this is going to work for a crit build. If I have 200 rounds, I don't think I need an extra 50. I think this 10% critical hit damage is actually going to work in regard to my build, and so this is definitely what I'm going to be running. Right now, I do have my LMG critical hit chance build actually, domed, which gives me about 60% crit chance. And with that 10%, I just increased my crit damage to 52%. So for a weapon like this, I'll also be looking for running like strained and some other really cool talents that will give me that critical hit damage advantage, because I have now maxed out the critical hit chance requirement. And so that is how I will personally build with this weapon, because its base damage compared to other LMGs is not necessarily that impressive, but on running it, I was really pleased. And then to finally just ice the whole cake, which this LMG is actually pretty good. I hope it makes it in the way it is. Maybe if they want it to be worth farming, then they just tune the base damage and make it a little higher, but then it might skew the meta. So I think it's in a good place right now. And then I use my Sweet Dreams talent, which I use to reload automatically when I just dodge. It gives me 25% of my current weapons magazine size, which that's 50 rounds. So every time I evade, I get 50 bullets back in my LMG. So this weapon is actually pretty solid. I think it's in a good place. I hope the developers roll it into the game. If you're watching this video after the title update and you see this weapon and it's in the game, then you know the information about it. I think it's going to be, not like I think, I'm more certain that it's going to be regular drops, because the talents I have here are Vindictive, Jazz Hands, and Everlasting, which are base talents for, usually other items within the game. And I think here it says my source was a reward. So after that mission, I got it as a reward for doing the mission. So it might be something that we get rewarded with. You get just a drop of it once you finish the Camp White Oak mission. So I don't really know what the developers intend to do with its RNG pooling, but we're going to eventually get to that, cross that bridge when we get to it. All right, that's all I have with this weapon and the information. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below, and I guess I'll see you in the next video. Peace.